My name is Leo, and when I was 4 years old, I attended Sunshine Meadows Preschool. It was all bright primary colors, alphabet carpets, and the constant, cheerful noise of plastic blocks and giggling kids. But there was one rule, whispered by Miss Anya with a gravity that felt alien in that rainbow room, that carved a cold space in my chest. Never, under any circumstance, go into the hallway during quiet time. Quiet time was just after lunch. Lights dimmed, soft lullaby music playing, everyone on their little cots. The hallway outside our door was long, lined with locked supply closets and lit by flickering fluorescent tubes that buzzed like angry insects. It always seemed darker during quiet time, the sunlight from the far exit sign not reaching our door. The rule was absolute. If you needed the bathroom, you raised your hand and Miss Anya would silently walk you, her hand tight on your shoulder, her pace hurried. She never looked left or right, her eyes fixed on the bathroom door. We all felt it. The hallway during quiet time wasn't empty. It was expectant. One Tuesday, my beloved stuffed frog, Ribbit, went missing. I'd had him since birth. Panic overrode reason. As the lullaby music swelled and my classmates' breaths deepened into sleep, I saw it. A flash of green felt, Ribbit's button eye glinting, just outside the doorway, as if he'd been dropped in the hall. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked at Miss Anya, dozing in her rocking chair, her knitting slipping from her lap. The rule screamed in my head. But Ribbit was out there, alone. I slipped off my cot, the vinyl floor cold on my socks. I crept to the doorway, each step a universe of sound. I peered into the hall. It was impossibly long, the far end swallowed in a gloom the buzzing lights couldn't pierce. The air was colder, smelling of old wax and something sweetly sour, like forgotten fruit. And there, about 10 feet away, lay Ribbit. I darted out, snatching him up, the relief so intense it was a physical warmth. That's when I heard the shuffle. Not a footstep, a shuffle, like something soft and heavy being dragged slowly across the polished linoleum. It came from my left, from the deep end of the hall where the light didn't reach. I froze, Ribbit clenched in my fist. The shuffle stopped. Then a wet, clicking sound like a tongue detaching from a roof of a mouth. And then it started again. Shuffle, click, shuffle, click. Closer. I couldn't see it, but I could feel its attention settle on me, a pressure like water in my ears. The cheerful lullaby from our classroom felt a million miles away. The thing in the dark wasn't running, it was savoring. It knew I had broken the rule. I was in its time now. My legs unlocked. I spun to run back to the classroom door, but it was drifting shut, the hydraulic hinge whispering as it closed with a soft, final click. Locked out. The shuffling quickened. The clicking became a rapid, hungry staccato. I did the only thing I could. I ran away from it, deeper down the hall, past the bathrooms, toward the distant exit sign. My little socked feet slipped, and I fell, skidding into a supply closet door. As I lay there, trembling, the shuffling right behind me, I looked up. The small, wire-reinforced window on the closet door wasn't dark. A face was pressed against it from inside the closet. It was pale with the wide, empty eyes of a forgotten doll, but it was smiling, a stretching, too-many-teeth smile. It wasn't the thing shuffling. This was something else. Something that had been watching, waiting in its own prison. A gurgle of laughter, muffled by the glass, trickled out. It was a sound that belonged in no preschool, a sound that mimicked joy but carried only rot. The dragging shuffle was right behind me. I could smell it now, that sweet sourness, overwhelming, choking. I squeezed my eyes shut, burying my face in Ribbit. Suddenly, the classroom door flew open. Light and the lullaby spilled out. Miss Anya's hand, vice-strong, grabbed the collar of my shirt and yanked me backward into the room, so hard I left my socks on the hallway floor. She slammed the door shut, locked it, and leaned against it, her face ashen. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the door, listening. From the other side, a final, frustrated shuffle. Then a single, gentle tap-tap-tap on the wood, right at the height of a 4-year-old. Then silence. Miss Anya never scolded me. She just looked at me with bottomless pity, handed me a new pair of socks from the lost and found, and said, her voice hollow, "You have to understand, Leo. Quiet time isn't for you to be quiet. It's for you to be unheard. Some halls aren't meant to be walked." I never broke the rule again. But sometimes, during quiet time, I'd see the shadow of something tall and wrong slide slowly past the narrow window of our classroom door, pausing for just a moment, as if remembering the taste of my fear. Every child at Sunshine Meadows had their own napping mat, a small, personal rectangle of foam with a vinyl cover. Mine was green with trains. But in the corner of the nap room, always stacked last, was a mat no one claimed. It was a faded sour cream yellow, and across its middle was a jagged line of thick, navy blue stitches like a scar. The teachers handled it with a kind of reverent dread. They'd never put it out for a child. It just lived in the stack. The older kids had a rhyme, sung in hushed tones. Yellow mat, blue seam, close your eyes, don't wake from the dream. Miss Julie, the youngest aide, didn't believe in nursery rhymes. One chaotic day, we had a visitor, a fussy new boy named Sam. We were out of spare mats. In a hurry, Miss Julie snapped, "Oh, for heaven's sake, it's just a mat," and unrolled the yellow one with the blue stitches for Sam. We all watched, frozen. Sam, oblivious, lay down on it, his back right over that thick blue seam. The lights went down. The music box started its tinkling lullaby. The room settled. At first, it was fine. Then, about 10 minutes in, I heard it. A slow, rhythmic creak. Not from the floor. From the mat. I peeked from under my blanket. Sam was sleeping peacefully. But the mat, the blue stitches were moving. Not unraveling. Pulsing. Like a suture over a heartbeat. And then Sam began to sink. Not much. Just a gentle, slow depression, as if the foam was becoming softer, hungrier. The blue stitches stretched wider, revealing not the foam below, but a deep, velvety blackness. Sam sighed in his sleep, a contented sound, as he sank another fraction of an inch. A cold terror seized me. This wasn't a mat. It was a mouth. A patient, stitching-closed mouth, and it was slowly tasting the child lying upon it. I did the bravest, stupidest thing I've ever done. I didn't call for a teacher. I crawled off my mat, across the cold floor, to Sam. I grabbed his arm. He was warm, heavy with sleep. I pulled. He didn't budge. It was like he was gently glued to the yellow vinyl. The blue stitches throbbed. The creaking grew louder, a sound of strain and anticipation. The blackness beneath the stitches seemed to deepen. I pulled with all my 4-year-old strength, my fingers digging into his little arm. With a terrible, soft, sucking pop, his body released from the mat. I fell backward, pulling him on top of me. We woke up the whole room. Miss Julie came rushing over, angry. "What is going?" Her words died when she saw Sam, still asleep, now on the floor, and the yellow mat. The blue stitches were now drawn tight again, but they were seeping. A dark, slow liquid, the color of a deep bruise, welled from the thread holes and soaked into the yellow vinyl, spreading in a Rorschach blot of utter wrongness. Without a word, Miss Julie rolled the mat up, the stain hidden inside. She never used it again. It was gone the next day. We were told it was thrown away. But I know. You can't just throw a thing like that away. Somewhere, in a storage closet or a basement, there is a yellow napping mat with a jagged blue seam. It is not sleeping. It is waiting. Waiting for another busy day, another tired teacher, another lone child to lie down on its patient, hungry surface, so it can finish its long, slow meal and finally close its seam for good.